Back at you with another motovlog. The weather's been nice to where I've been able to do a lot of riding, so figured I'd do some motovlogs while the weather is still pleasant to ride and talk. But today's motovlog has to do with why do businesses, most businesses, want to grow? And it's not that it's not a good thing, but after a certain point, growth just becomes a thing. There's no rhyme or reason why companies want to grow besides the fact that that's just what businesses do. They want to grow. They want to make more money. They want to expand. They want to do more things. And again, those ideas have a place in some businesses, but not, in my opinion, not all businesses need to grow, need to keep increasing profit margin, keep being super efficient to where they lean down their workforce or lean down their processes just to barely get above or meet their compliance statement or meet their promises to the customer. So an example would be say again a furniture making company. So if you are a carpenter or somebody who is really good at making furniture and you want to open up your own business, it's a good idea to make enough money to pay your bills, right? People want to make enough money to where at least they pay their bills at home and pay their bills at work at their company, and maybe a little bit extra to do enjoyable things in life. No, I don't have any argument on why a company or a business owner should try to grow their business when they first start out. So from that point, you rent a building or you purchase a building, you advertise your business, and you start making money to break even. So you rent the building or you buy the building and it costs you X dollars a month. So you have to make enough money to at least that. And then of course if you have a house or an apartment or something and you have to pay your living expenses, bills and stuff, all that goes into what you have to charge for either your service or the products that you're selling. No questions, no downside to that, right? So then after say a year or 2 years, you're doing good, you're finally breaking even, and you make enough money to pay the bills, pay your employees if you have any, pay for the materials. And Pop's Quest was a furniture maker, or not furniture maker, but a cabinet maker. And so I'm sure he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's a business owner. So you have to consider inventory, you have to consider employees, you have to consider advertising. There's a whole lot to running a business. I get it. So you want to get to a level to where you make good money and you have profit that gives you the fruit of your labor. to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So the goal, the initial goal is break even, and then the goal after that is to make enough to where you can pay yourself a decent amount of income to do fun things like buying a motorcycle. And then the next goal after that is, if you want to grow your business, you want to keep your current process of equipment and employees and stuff like that to make more profit so you can reinvest it into your business. If that's what you want. If you're just making coffee tables, right? There's a plateau to where you can only sell so many coffee tables. So you want to expand it to be able to make dinner tables, dining tables. You want to make chairs. You want to make patio furniture, because that's what you like to do. No argument there. But at what point do you say, that's all I want to do? I'm done doing that, right? At what level do you want to make the profit to keep yourself happy, right? And then of course, some of that income, some of that revenue has to go into maintenance. That's a factor, not a problem. But what I'm getting at is, at what point does your profit pays for everything that you want it to do, and then you just making money like it's going out of style, right? And that's what I'm getting at with companies that are just make billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that really that's not needed to pay their current workforce, their current inventory, and advertisements and stuff like that, and maintenance and stuff like that. It's just gravy. You know, at what point is all the revenue you're making just gravy, and then what do you do with that money? Some companies expand, but the problem is you have companies that are at that point where they're making gravy, you know, tons and tons of gravy, but then they're still on the premise that, oh, we need to be more efficient, we need to be you know, we need to reduce the waste, quote unquote waste, in our workforce. And then they start chopping heads, or not buying good equipment, buying cheap equipment to show revenue. And that's the experience of one of the companies I worked for. This company was a $4 billion a year company. Well, they promoted one of the bean counters to be CEO. I'm sure he's a smart guy. He's smarter than me. I'm not a bean counter, but you know, and I'm sure he liked getting promoted. Who doesn't like getting promoted? Most people like getting promoted. And so his job, his requirement was to get the company to be a $10 billion company. You know, jumping from 4 billion to 10 billion is not an easy thing. But the question is, why? The company's making $4 billion a year. Employees are making good money. The company's making good money. Stockholders are making good money. What drives the board, the board of directors, to make more money? I'm sure the people in the board of directors aren't poor. I'm sure their income is pretty good, but what's the reasoning? You know, I'm already a millionaire, and it becomes a game. I know why, but it doesn't make any sense. To me, it's a mental disorder. It's just like, I can't remember the guy's name, J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan supposedly was asked, how much money is enough? Somebody asked him, how much money do you want to make that's enough? And he says, just a little bit more. So it just becomes a game. But the problem is, when they go down that road to want to expand just because it's a game, they start hurting their business, they start hurting people. And to me, it was a clear mistake when the company I worked for wanted to go from 4 billion a year to 10 billion a year, and the things that they did were a dumpster fire. They got in big trouble, and I mentioned it before. So I get it. I understand why people in charge want to do it. It's because that's what they've been designated to do. But on a big picture scale, why? If you own a business and you just want to make enough to have a good life, more power to you. But how much money do you need to make? How much profit do you need to make to live the good life that you want? I mean, you look at celebrities. A lot of celebrities, they make crazy money, and what happens to them? They do drugs, they do illegal things, because after a while that money does nothing for them. They've done everything that they wanted to do, been with people they wanted to be with, or around them that they wanted to be with, and after that it's like, what do I do? What do I do with all this money? They buy mansions, they buy cars, and if you ever watched the series of TV shows about what happens to people when they win the lottery, a large percent of people who win the lottery end up in a worse place in their lives than before they won the lottery. There's a story where a guy in the Houston area won like $100 million or something, like when the Powerball was a big deal, and 100 million was like the most amount that the lottery had, and he won. And instead of taking the lump sum, he took the payments. Well, first thing he did, he bought a whole bunch of cars, he bought a bunch of houses. His family members came to him, asked for money. He was giving away money left and right until he finally ran out of money of the payments that he was getting. So he sold 2 years worth of payments for like $1 million or $2 million. So he sold something like $6 or $8 million for $2 million. And then in a crazy short amount of time, like within 6 months or a year, he ran out of the $2 million because he was just giving it away, because that's what made him feel good. He felt important because he had money to give away. And then after he ran out of money, he couldn't get any more, he killed himself. So money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And I think a lot of companies that want to grow for no real specific reason besides the fact that they just want to grow, I think that ties into the love of money, the love of making money for the sake of making money, and just not a good thing. So anyway, hope that entertained some people who like listening to my motovlogs. Have a good one. Later.